Welcome to the Practical Pistol Show. My name is Ben Stagger. I'm here to answer your shooting questions. Today we got Tim Herron on a computer that actually is working.
Yay!
Back in the purple room.
Nick Yantola, Grandmaster Nick.
Oh, yes?
Yeah. And one of the best shooters from the Kansas City area, Mr. Matt Hopkins.
Hi.
Jesus.
What do you mean, one of?
Well, I mean, he's pretty much the dude, but I don't want to talk
Throwing
about
everybody under the bus like that?
What?
Dude, I beat myself plenty.
Yeah, we all do. We all fuck up. All right, guys, today we're talking about DQs. Everyone's favorite subject.
It's interesting.
It is interesting. So a thread popped up on the forum, which I don't want to make it sound like this thread is a huge deal, because it seems to me every year or two, like somebody will be talking about some match and they're like, oh, there was a ton of DQs at that match. So this year it's like, oh, there's a lot of DQs I feel at Area 4. A lot of DQs. And then a bunch of discussion about DQs. And this got me to thinking, what is a lot of DQs? What does it actually look like? And can we maybe figure out if there is a lot or not a lot at a match? Why does that happen? Is there anything we could do? And this is more like just kind of getting this started, because you guys can imagine that it's tough to get really any firm answers because of how many variables are involved in this thing. But that's I think it makes for an interesting conversation. Nick, have you looked into this a little bit? Yeah. You're a pretty analytical dude. That's why I got to kick it to you.
I'm going to tell you the one kind of situation where I would say I would be unhappy if a lot of DQs are generated. So I think we've talked on the show before where occasionally you'll find a specific target, and you ask the RO, can I shoot the target from here? I just want a yes or no answer. Okay. And I think the RO should be able to provide a yes or no answer. It's fine to shoot the target from here, or it's not fine. That should be a yes or no question. When they
so far.
when they sort it out, when it becomes not a yes or no question, and they answer that question with, well, if you break the 180, you're DQ'd. Okay.
Like, yeah, I know that.
I'm not happy with that answer, and if they DQ a bunch of people there, for whatever reason, I'm going to think I'm not going to like that very much. Okay. If you have a lot of people at a match DQing because they can't point their gun the right direction or whatever else that's pretty basic, shooter expectations at a major match, then fine. In my opinion, level 2 and up is, it's big boy rules, and don't go to that match if you're not prepared to follow the rules.
Okay. So let's talk about what a lot of DQs are and see if you guys are surprised by any of this. So the match pointed to in this thread, and I'll put it up in the show notes if anybody's curious. I mean, it's the same sort of bullshit, and I'll be honest, there's threads like this pretty regularly when there's a match that somebody feels like there's a lot of DQs at. I'll put this thread up in the show notes, but they point at 2015 Area 4, and they say 21 DQs. Okay. Does that sound like a lot to anybody?
21 DQs? It does to me.
Okay. I mean, I don't really pay that much attention to it usually, I guess. That didn't strike me as a lot, but after looking at some numbers, maybe you'll feel differently. All right. So just in the interest of kind of getting an idea for what happens at matches, with the reformatting of practice score, it was actually pretty easy to look at a bunch of area matches from the last couple of years, depending on if they had the results on practice score or not. Depending on how lazy I want to be. So let me read off some for you. All right, 2015 Area 4, 21 DQs, 352 competitors. And I should say with these numbers, a lot of times it was hard for me to tell. Competitors were listed in some match as DQing specifically. Other people just had zeros for scores. So in those situations, I figured that the zeros did not shoot the match. They just ended up no-showing or something. But I did the best I could with the numbers with the information I had. I'll say that. Okay, so 21 DQs, that's 5.9% of the match. All right, 2014 Area 3. This is another match where I seem to remember there being some discussion online. It's like, man, there's a lot of DQs at that match. 285 competitors, 14 DQs, 4.9%. 2015 Area 5, 293 competitors, 8 DQs, 2.7%. 2014 Area 4, 297 competitors, 11 DQs, 3.7% of the match. And it goes on like this. The lowest I found, the lowest number of DQs, was this year's Area 2, had 423 people shoot it, and less than 1% of the match DQ'd with 4. And the highest one I found was this year's Area 4 at 5.9%. So,
I guess the question is how many, like, what is too much, right?
well, I mean, I guess the question would be what is a lot? And if, 6% of the match, like that's the highest one I'm finding. And I'm only looking at area matches.
Yeah.
And I also recorded the number of stages. There was the lowest, there was an area 8. I should say, I think the number of stages is important because presumably every stage is another chance to DQ, right?
I would think so.
Yeah, the lowest number of stages was Area 8 last year had 10 stages and 3% of the match DQ'd. The most stages that survived the match was this year's Area 4 had 14. It was tied for the most. And I think it started with 15 stages, right?
Yeah, they had to toss one.
Okay, so that would be
Not a safety issue, though.
or that would be more opportunities to DQ, presumably. So maybe that has something to do with it.
I mean, is there any kind of correlation between the number of stages and the number percentage of DQs that you can see?
No. No, the lowest number of DQs came on a match that had 14 stages. So, I mean, I'm not really seeing.
There's not an obvious pattern.
No, there's no
the number of stages.
There's no obvious pattern to it. Not that I can see, and I didn't look at every area match because if the results were not easily accessible to me, then I didn't give a shit about them.
Yeah.
It's just, that's just it's just getting a sense for where the numbers are. So I think you could probably pretty safely say that having more than 5% of the match DQ, that's probably a lot, right?
Pretty high. Yeah.
I just did Florida Open real quick, and it's at 5.5%.
Right, and I'm looking at Production Nationals. 350-ish people signed up, 6 DQs.
Yeah. So Florida Open had 11 stages, so. I don't think there's any correlation. I think it's, I'm going to sound like an asshole, but it's somewhat on stage design. But
Really?
that goes back to I think it does a little bit.
Have any of you guys shot Area 2?
I've not.
I've not either. Area 2 is a match that has a reputation for very complicated stages, right?
Yeah.
Lowest percentage of DQs.
But does complicated stages mean?
I don't know.
I don't think it means.
Maybe.
Like if there's a match where there's 4 stages where you have to back up, I think that would have a higher probability of having DQs on it. Honestly.
I think it also has.
Then that has a match that's everything lateral, or directly downrange.
I think it also probably depends on just the, how physically demanding the match is too. I mean, Ben and Matt have shot Area 3 for a number of years, and it's always been,
Hot as fuck.
It's always hot. It's always physically demanding, definitely. But I mean, the stages themselves too lend themselves to a lot of movement, a lot of running, a lot of disaster factor type, things, so to speak. And it looks like from what I've been able to read about, kind of everybody's review on Area 4 this year, it was hot as balls.
Yeah. Hotter than Area 3.
Yeah, definitely.
By far hotter than Area 3.
And a lot of physical exertion. I mean, it looks like a lot of guys, it's like either tripped and fell, maybe DQ'd, or just had almost like just not thinking straight, maybe just because they were completely just exhausted. I don't know. But it seems like maybe the correlation might be just more on what is a more physically active match.
That's a good point. Because after a long day, your mind kind of goes and stuff like that. I mean, we've all seen it where there's been issues.
Dude, I was a complete retard this year at one match by lunchtime.
Yeah.
It was hot out. Like I was a moron by lunch. I was like,
At area 3, you seem to be kind of like you were overheating a little bit too.
dude, I went and sat in my car during lunch. I didn't eat.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, it's just kind of like some of the stages at Area 3. You had to, kind of climb up on the stairs and shoot over walls, and then jump back down off the stairs and climb up some more stairs. And I mean, to me, that's kind of a stage that lends itself to a disaster factor, where I think a lot of DQs could probably be racked up on a stage like that. Is it bad or good? No, I mean, I didn't think the stage was bad at all, but it definitely kind of raises the risk, for a slip and fall or a gun pointing the wrong direction coming off the stairs or something like that. And of course, I wasn't at Area 4. I don't know what the specifics were of the stages, but
I heard college balls, a lot of running.
Yeah.
And a lot of stages too.
Yeah.
So a lot of
Stages
opportunities.
were super huge. Like, they had huge bays when the targets were in all the corners. So, like, it took a lot to reset a stage, too. So, like, it wasn't just the stages were, like, long movement-wise. Like, there was a lot of just reset also involved. So that made the day, like, physical exertion more.
Did you shoot in a one-day format, Matt, or two?
I shot one day, 11 and a half hours.
Yeah, see, that'd be the thing I'd be kind of concerned about, too. Is guys shooting 14 or 15 stages in one day. Where did the majority of those DQs come from? Did it come from those guys that chose to shoot the one-day format?
I don't know. The thing was, the two-day format wasn't any better because they were still on the range, like 10 and a half hours. So you just had to back it up with another half day of shooting.
Nick, what's your reaction listening to this?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds to me like you're going to need a lot more information than what we've been able to lay out so far.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to need to know, like, more of the circumstances, whether they were concentrated on one stage at the matches with high DQ rates. Just going to need more information.
So guys, here's my thought on this, and I'll send Ken an email as soon as we're done recording if you guys like this. But wouldn't it be nice if in Practice Score you could record the reason and the stage for the DQ, and then it would log that info?
Definitely.
I thought I heard somebody say that was one thing they were planning to add.
Yeah, because
that was one of the issues I think that they haven't went to the electronic scoring for nationals because it wasn't in an update.
It seems to me like this is one of those things where a lot more is unknown than known, right?
Yeah.
And I guess to me the only other question I have is, what percentage of DQs would we consider acceptable, like as a sport?
Man, that's a tough
There's
question.
always going to be some DQs.
Oh, sure.
You're not going to eliminate it. Like I saw one guy injure himself, pretty seriously injure himself, and break the 180 at a match I shot, like a few weeks ago. And it's kind of like, you're not going to do anything to prevent that. That crazy shit can happen. But what percentage? I mean, I guess it's arbitrary, right? But what would you consider acceptable?
And that's tough to say. I'd say I'd like to see 1%, but it sounds like there's nothing even close to that right now.
No, like there's one area match I found that's at 1%. And that's a fucking outlier.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing you got to look at too, again, is what were the circumstances that caused that number of DQs? I mean, was being able to look at more data would be, I think, definitely beneficial. I mean, was it like one particular stage? Was it, did it seem to be one particular, circumstance that seemed to catch everybody off guard, or what? So until you know that kind of shit.
I think as shooters we like to think that there's some trouble spot that we have to avoid, where people get tripped up or something, or there's some crazy RO out there looking to put more notches in his timer. But most of the times I've looked at this, it's kind of the DQs tend to be spread over a match, like all over the place. If there's more than average or whatever. That's just what I've observed. I don't know, Nick. What's an acceptable percentage for you?
I don't think you can take just a match, like a number of stages and a DQ percentage, and say that there's an acceptable percentage.
No, yeah, you
see more
can.
data.
Tim just did. Tim said 1%.
Nah, I don't.
Oh, I said that.
Yeah,
I think one per stage isn't a bad number. So if you have 15 stages, 15 people, I think that'd be That's an interesting way to put it.
Yeah.
So if you have 10 stages, 10 people.
I just think you need more information.
Fuck you, Nick.
Um,
Of course you need more information. We're trying to
there's
speculate, dude. Have some fun with it. Say 3% or whatever. I say 12%. I'm good with 12%.
12%.
Seriously?
Yeah, I mean, whatever.
No, I don't know. I don't give a shit.
That's
It's
a lot.
It's a lot. I mean, yeah. What are the skill level? What's the experience level of people getting DQ'd? If you got a
I don't
match
know. Presumably, area matches bring our best and brightest pipe hitters out. You know.
right? But you got a lot of if 80% of the DQs are D class guys.
Maybe Area
then-
2 people are brilliant and Area 4 people and Area 3 people are dumb. I don't know. I don't know what the data means, Nick.
We don't have data. That's the problem.
We have a little bit.
Lacking
We
data.
have enough to be dangerous. We have enough to speculate.
And that's all that matters, right?
That's all that matters, man.
Yeah.
So the solution is Ken Nelson's going to sort this out. He's going to put some shit in practice score, and then we're going to get a lot more data, and we'll learn a lot from it.
I like it. I like that
Yeah.
plan.
That is the plan.
I mean,
I don't
if we
think
had all that
I don't
data,
think. Do we really need it?
Need more what?
Do we need to figure this out? Like, is it that big of
I don't
an
know.
issue?
To me, I would hate to see a lot of people DQ'd. I think if there's something smart that we can do, some little tweak we could make that would reduce the number of DQs from the sport, that would be a positive thing.
How about a stage setup handbook?
Well, see,
Like the target array handbook.
Yeah. Well, see, Matt, you've started with the conclusion, and you're working backwards, right?
Yeah.
So you're concluding that the stage setup is what would contribute to a lot of DQs.
Yeah.
I mean, we could think that, but
What about a shooter competency?
shooter
Like,
competency.
before they shoot an area match. I mean, that.
Well,
like,
DQs
that-
happen.
Okay, let's talk about the two issues. Like, what are the issues people DQ for, right? What are the main ones? AD during some kind of gun handling, right?
Yes.
And breaking the 180.
The 180. I would suspect 180 is the biggest one.
Any others that aren't in those two categories?
That happen?
Like that are common. Like, yeah,
I
Something.
don't think so. I
those
think
are the two
180
big ones.
180 is probably the most common. If I'm just guessing.
I would say that
suspect
also.
it.
Yeah.
I
So,
guess they're evenly. Those two, I bet are evenly matched as the highest number.
man, I've seen way more 180s and like 80s and stuff.
I've seen way more 180s than 80s
Yeah.
myself too.
I haven't seen them called as much. I don't know. I don't think you're kind of right though. I don't think stage design can negate all the 180s.
I'm just saying we don't know. We gotta. Ken Nelson's gonna sort this all out. He's gonna get us tons of data.
You think he cares?
Well, if he could apply the same data to like 3-gun and sports that he likes, then that would be good too. I'm just saying we could do actual. I hate to use the word science, but we could do something approximating that, and maybe cut down the number of DQs, number of butthurt people. I mean, it's probably no fun to drive home from a major match after getting DQ'd.
No.
It really sucks ass. So, minimizing that would be cool. So anyway, if you guys, if the listeners want to jump in on this conversation, please do. So, I'm curious about what people think about this, because this is a spot that with computer scoring, I think we could do a lot. We could do a lot of data collection, like Nick wants us to do, and maybe figure some stuff out. Maybe improve shooter training, RO training, things like that. That'd be a positive thing for the sport. Okay, let's do a shooting question, guys. Sound good?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right. A question came up during practice with my buddy, and it'd be interesting to hear what you and the panel have to say. When doing a reload on the move, specifically when you have a longer distance to cover, say at least 5 yards, is it better to focus on hitting a fast reload first and then sprint, or do you prefer to explode out of position and save the reload until you enter the new position? or something in between? Does your answer change when the distance to cover becomes extremely long or much shorter? Love the show and appreciate your guys' feedback. Nick, this is tailor-made for you.
It is.
I feel.
Yeah, so I used to be firmly in the camp of get the reload done first and then sprint hard. So kind of lazy movement out of position until the reload's done and then roll. And I got to say, over the last about year and a half, I've totally changed my mind. And my highest priority is moving hard, and the reload gets done when it gets done. So that's where I am now.
Okay. Hopkins. You're a fucking cat.
Yeah, I got a visitor. I'm conflicted on it. Like, I've done some testing and I'm not sure yet. I've actually experimented with doing really aggressive movement and getting the movement and the reload done as you go there as fast as you can. Also, I've done where you get the reload done immediately, then move aggressively. I can't really tell either way as of right now. Which way is faster? Depends on the movement distance.
I think it depends on the movement distance. Yeah.
That's exactly what I was getting ready to say.
If it's a 3-foot movement, then you got to get that reload done no matter what, because you're going to be there before you even know it.
Well, you're going to be moving while punching the gun out if it's a really short movement. So your priority is on the reload, but you don't really have to move much, right? If you have to move, then move.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yep. And I'd say 5 yards is kind of that hit or miss distance too. I mean, I think you got to be able to do both equally fast.
I think it's less than 5 yards though.
Yeah, but I mean, 5 yards is kind of. I mean, I'm a short guy, and it's hard for me to even cover 5 yards fast. But I can cover 5 yards faster than I can get the reload done if I'm really focused on moving, smoking fast. So I would say if you got to move 10 yards or so, or 7 to 10 yards, definitely you need to work on getting the hell out of position and get moving and just get the reload done when you get it done. But I mean, 5 yards honestly can be covered in just a few steps, and definitely need to have the reload done and have the gun up and ready to shoot the second you're into the next position, or shooting the second you're in the next position. So it's all relative to the distance.
God damn it! You guys stole all the smart shit I was gonna say.
Say something not smart.
For me, 5 yards is in the move first category.
Yeah, I've done testing on it, and it's probably 3 yards, maybe.
So that'd be.
It starts getting closer than that.
Start talking about feet then, right? So that'd be 9 feet.
Yes, we could do 9 feet.
So anything farther than 9 feet, you're going to concentrate on the moving.
Well, I'm not out there with a fucking tape measure, but yeah, I mean, I'm going to focus up on moving hard. And what I found in testing is once the distance gets to a certain point, let's say 9 feet, in testing I'm faster on average, focusing on movement and just sorting the reload out on the run. And it looks messy and it feels messy, and I don't necessarily like it, but it's proven faster than doing a nice smooth load without accelerating that hard and then moving. That makes sense, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So 3 yards. So what you said?
I'll say 3 yards.
Kind of where it hinges for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. But then there's other factors too. Target difficulty could play into it, right?
Like the last target or the target you're coming in on?
Yeah, so let's say if you're going to come in on a 15-yard head box or something crazy, it probably wouldn't pay off that much to really get a run going, even if it's 4 or 5 yards, So there's other factors in play, but you can generally, I think, focusing on the movement when there's any sort of distance, it's going to be the better play. That's my feeling. Anything else, guys?
I think the guy should go out there and test it. That's the only way he'll for sure know.
No, he emailed us, and that was way faster than testing it.
Well, I think he should go out there to confirm what we told him. Then.
Yeah, I mean, probably so.
No,
All right. Good call, Matt. I love it. All right, if you wanna have Matt confirm your stuff for you, go to hopkinsshooting.com and send him a question. He'll even test your loads for you, whatever you need him to do. He's there for you.
just let me know.
I'll test your loads. Just mail me some ammo, and I'll test your loads for you also. Nicky Antola, find him on Facebook if you want to send him a message. And Tim, you're on Facebook.
Yep.
If you have any shooting questions, head over to benstegger.com. Email me your shooting question, and I'd love to answer it for you. That's all we got today, guys.